Dozens of arrests have been made in the United Kingdom after scenes of disorder unfurled, with police warning that further violence is likely in the coming days. Multiple towns and cities have witnessed clashes between anti-immigration demonstrators and counter-protesters, with police officers being attacked and injured, and many more arrests being promised too. In parts of the country, bricks have been hurled at police officers in Stoke-on-Trent. Fireworks were thrown, and even the windows of a hotel were smashed in Hull. Video footage that has been released also shows police officers that have been injured during the unrest. The riots have taken place after a knife attack took place at a children's dance class in Southport last week. Joining us at this point is Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, former diplomat. We also have Major General Dhruv Katoch, Director, India Foundation, joining us live. Rashmi Samant, former Student Union President, Oxford University, is also live with us. Dr. Vivek Kaul, key member of Diaspora in the United Kingdom of Indian origin, is also joining us live. Let me make a start with you first, Ambassador Sachdev. What do you make of this situation that has developed in the United Kingdom?
I think it's quite disturbing. One should say that it has roots in economy mainly, as well as the politics. We had the elections last year in the UK, and after a long gap, Labour Party was declared the victor by long side, and Conservatives were decimated. This is the first, how should I put it, a presentation after that election, and shows the strength of not only Conservatives but also radical right, which are greatly dissatisfied with the political outcome of the elections and the policies to be pursued. Secondly, the unemployment figure in the UK continues to be fairly high at 4.4%. GDP growth in 2023 was 0.1%. UK narrowly avoiding recession in that year. And even after a bit of better performance, 2024 growth rate is expected to be below 1%. With that in mind, I think the youngsters, particularly radical right, particularly unemployed, have a grudge against immigrants, and the rumors, fake news, etc., have been rife, saying that the murder of 3 small girls at a rock concert by, I think, a Caribbean origin person who was born in UK itself, 17-year-old Excel, was actually a Muslim migrant, and that changed the social dynamics, and anti-Muslim sentiments came to surface, leading to rioting, and anti-migrant feeling being ventilated. So all that put together shows the unseeming underbelly of UK society, where racism has been always there, and it just needs an incident like the murder of 3 little girls to come to the surface and manifest itself in myriad ways of illegal antisocial behavior. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Major General Katoch, let me take that across to you. Violence in, Western countries is becoming now very habitual. But what do you make of this situation that has developed in the United Kingdom, and what really has caused it? Very concerning, very violent scenes coming from the United Kingdom, all over, in fact.
Thank you, Uday. Uday, for anybody who has been watching what is happening in the West and also in the United Kingdom, I think in our own conversations, there was a feeling that at some point or the other, this is bound to happen. Now, while of course we can use the term that some people are racist and they are fascists, and all these terms can be used, but ultimately there has been a feeling in the common citizen that they have not been given that they are not being given due justice in their own country. And I think that feeling has developed over a very long period of time, and it is really coming out. I'm not surprised, very frankly, I'm not surprised at what has happened. What surprises me is that it has taken so long to happen. There are two things. This immigration issue is very serious, but equally serious is the fact that the people who have come, they refuse to integrate. Now, in this particular case, the 17-year-old boy who carried out these ghastly murders deliberately, he was born in the United Kingdom itself. What prevented them from integrating into the society? You've escaped from some other society, then you want to come back to a new place, and you want to start introducing those elements into this society, which you have tried to get away from. So I'm afraid this matter is going to go from bad to worse. It is not getting better. In a recent visit, I think about 3 years ago to Germany, 3.5 years ago to Germany, maybe 4 years, just before the COVID, one of the people who was taking us around, there was a mosque there, and he said that the preacher there was very virulent, and they had to take the efforts of Saudi Arabia to get him out. No, I think there is something wrong in a society if you have to take the effort of a third country to get people who are preaching such virulence in your own country to get them out. Now, yes, there is a hint of racism in what has happened, but then when you have in the United Kingdom what they call those gangs, the breeding gangs of some name like that, and where they have been carrying out rapes of underage girls repeatedly, and no action was taken. And when the people who actually tried to take action, they started becoming, the bad people. I think there is something wrong in that society. Justice cannot be one-sided. If justice is applied uniformly across the board, including to the Muslim migrants who cannot be above the law, then I think they will be moving in a better direction. And you will not have these incidences where these right-wing extremist groups start coming up. But till such time as you're not prepared, if you're prepared to mollycoddle one on whatever reason, you can say that, okay, they are poor, they've had unfortunate times, etc. I can understand all that. But ultimately, when you're looking at society at large, they will not accept it. I think that time in Britain, that time is certainly coming in. In my own view, there is going to be a much larger explosions coming up, not confined to the United Kingdom, but to Western Europe too. You'll see this explosion starting in the United Kingdom, but spreading over to Germany and then on to France and then on to other countries. That is the way I read it. It is not something which is pleasant. It is not something which we want, but it is a reality which I am looking at. Uday.
All right. Let me, in fact, quickly bring in at this point Rashmi Samant as well. Rashmi, you have, of course, been in the United Kingdom, so you understand very well the situation on ground. What, according to you, has spurred these protests? Is it just this one-off incident, or is it something building up in the UK? What's your take on what's happening?
Well, Uday, firstly, I think we shouldn't mix racism with radicalization. Racism is irrational hatred towards a well-integrated and, well-performing, law-abiding community. So that is very separate from what is happening here. Here, it is a reactionary sort of, measure that radicalism is seeing in the United Kingdom, because over the past decade or so, we see the rise of the grooming gangs where, young girls are being groomed by radical groups who belong to certain migrant communities. We see Leicester riots, where law-abiding integrated communities are attacked by migrant communities who refuse to integrate, who refuse to, abide by law, who refuse to, sort of contribute positively to the economy. So I think there are two separate things. And if we mix this up, then we are going to also put the cause and the injustices that law-abiding citizens from migrant communities face and we make the mistake of cooping it up with sort of reactionary activities that we're seeing now in the United Kingdom against radicalization. So I think these are two separate issues. I think the only way to tackle this is by sort of emboldening and by empowering the law and order. So what's happening increasingly in the United Kingdom is that the government has gone woke, and so has many departments, which see persecution of certain communities as, not so fancy, and that is stopping a large amount of persecution from going through. The conviction in many of the grooming gang cases, was stopped abruptly just because of this sort of crusade for political correctness. So I think that needs to end, and there needs to be proper law and order. Only then will we stop seeing, different communities, even radical conservative communities, because what they're doing is wrong. But unfortunately, the system is weakened to an extent that citizens are, being forced to take law into their own hands. I mean, a cleric, to expel a cleric, to have to seek intervention from a third country it tells a lot about the sort of law and order system or the regime in the United Kingdom, and the kind of power that it has to bring things under control within the country. I think that is necessary, and this has been a problem which has been festering for a very long time now. And right now what we are seeing is just the beginning of the reaction, and if this needs to be stopped, then the government really needs to shed its coat of political correctness and come down hard upon criminals, come down hard upon lawbreakers, and come down hard upon people who are not contributing progressively to the economy and refuse to integrate. And that refusal to integrate, they try to show that by committing antisocial activities. So I think that distinction is necessary, and law and order needs to be restored in the United Kingdom at this point.
Okay, let me in fact also get in Dr. Vivek Kaul in at this point. Dr. Vivek Kaul, very concerning situation, of course, in the UK. Where do you see this headed in the next few days, and how can they clamp down on these protests?
Namaste, everybody. I was there on 27th of July. There was a big rally in Trafalgar Square. Almost 100,000 people had come. To label them far right is really not correct, because on that day I saw a lot of middle class English, and all classes had come there, including concerned Indians and Sikhs. The problem is the successive governments have encouraged the Muslim migration into this country. Because of that, it helps them politically, because they get a vote bank, like the green-red X's. So that, not only that, I was interviewed on that day by a lot of people. I said, what happens is there's these people who are immigrants, Muslim immigrants, let me call it honestly, I don't care, let me be politically incorrect. They drive the white people from the big cities like Manchester. If you go to Birmingham, it looks like a Pakistan. So they drive them from there, and they become, they take over the councils with its budget. Then they become their member of parliament and enter House of Lords. And how can you expect these people to discuss anything about the country which these white people are facing? They discuss Palestine, then they discuss Kashmir, they discuss all these kind of non-issues in British Parliament. So British people have had enough. They are wanting to unite and telling the government in power that enough is enough. We don't want these radical elements in any part of the society. Think in this way, they come on the boats and then they get a hotel, and a white person, equivalent white person who is homeless, is sleeping on the streets. How would you like it? Nobody, no country should like it, but there is a big nexus between these politics and these, immigrants for this power struggle, and this will not end in 2-3 days. Udayji, I will tell you, it won't end. The violence might calm down, because Tommy has released a video today telling them not to, do any violence, because you are playing into in the hands of the government. But I see it that all these, middle class English and these and the lower working class English joining together and taking power through ballot. That is the way forward. That would happen. It will take 4 or 5 years, but that will happen, because they have got no faith in their own government, because they say that we did not want these immigrants. They are very intelligent. They know an Indian immigrant from a Pakistani immigrant. I also told them, while the grooming gang was happening, I was chasing Rishi Sunak, telling him please name these people. You are calling them Asians. You don't even have guts to call them from their country they are coming. So he said, yeah, Vivek, you are right. We should be naming them as Pakistanis. And when I become prime minister, I'm talking when he became the prime minister first time, I will start naming them. And I also met Suella Braverman, the home minister at that time. And she said, I will be calling them from their ethnicity, not calling them Asians or anything else. So there is a deep-seated resentment, the kind of deep-seated resentment there was amongst Hindus when before BJP came. So this resentment can be equated to each other. Thank you very much.
Let me take that back to Ambassador Sachdev. Ambassador Sachdev, who is backing these protesters, and what do you make of the protests spreading to many cities as well? Who is propping up the protesters, and is there something else at play here other than just this one stabbing incident?
I think in the times of social media, there is plenty of that push to spur the demonstrations and make them angry and a bit despotic. At the same time, one should also point out to what's happening in the neighboring countries of Western Europe. We've had French elections 2 months ago, and extreme right did fairly well and could be only stopped in the second round of the parliamentary vote by when the left combined together. Denmark, Netherlands, Sweden, Finland are all gone to right. And similarly, Germany has, the ultra-right has done better. There is different kind of rightists in power in Hungary, for example. And Italy, I think Ms. Meloni is smiling year to year as having been precursor to this wave of shift towards right. She represented Berlusconi, his party, and has a clear anti-immigrant mandate. So there is also see tendency of Trump all over again, and Canadian politics where immigrants are not welcome. Curbs are being placed. Now, the rumor mongering about the socialist behavior, Labour Party's policy towards Rwanda, expelling immigrants to Rwanda, etc., have been on the cards. And Labour Party has had to balance its views about migrants with accommodating this right print. And I think it is when we are talking about integration of people, there is a point there, but at the same ghettoization of the non-ethnic English people into corners of big cities is something that is jarring to right, and it gives them the targets to attack, symbols to be unhappy about, and it doesn't help that many of these migrants are from the societies where values are very, very different with regard to women, with regard to religion, with regard to social ascendance. They think if having come to UK, they should convert UK to their value, and they should adhere to their own values, which is something that is deeply resented, as other panelists have also mentioned. And therefore, I think there is a groundswell, and it's not going to happen, not going to die down in any time soon. And we need to I think the fundamental changes have to take place on both sides. And above all, economy has to do well so that more jobs can be created and everybody can be accommodated economically. Thank you, Uday.
Okay, as far as the country is concerned of the United Kingdom, Rashmi, there's a new government which, of course, has now come in, a new prime minister. But after these visuals, after these incidents, many would ask, where is the UK headed?
Absolutely, Uday. And I think when such incidents come to the fore, people often forget that the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was actually the son of an immigrant couple. So, albeit UK has a checkered past when it comes to racism and treatment of people of other color, I think it shouldn't be sort of mixed up and it shouldn't be confused for the response against radicalization. I think they're two separate issues, and every community, irrespective of their color or their past, are now becoming part of this anti-radical movement. You have Hindus joining these marches against radical elements within the UK society. You have Sikhs joining, because some of the victims of the grooming gangs were actually young Sikh girls who were targeted. So I think the problem here is something deeper than racism, and the two need to be separated. The minute we use the card of racism here, we're actually diluting what is happening and the gross human rights violations which are happening. And I think nobody deserves to be treated in an inhuman manner, even if they are if they have a fairer skin or are coming from a privileged community. I think that sense of political correctness and vote bank politics that the new government is trying to play now needs to stop, and that it really needs to take a stock of what is essential for its national security, what is essential for integrity of its community, and what is essential for its community to go forward as a whole. If there is no peace within society, there's no way the economy is going to recover. We all know that the economy in the UK has taken a severe hit post the Ukraine war, post the Brexit, post COVID. And the only way it can recover is if all of its people are not out on the streets fighting for justice for their own little girls. I think that sense the government needs to have, and just the sort of hunger for power shouldn't blind the new Labour government from taking stringent actions against the elements which are bringing down the very moral fabric of society in the United Kingdom, which once sort of propelled it forward in the socio-economic space all across the world. So I think that is really necessary, and I hope that the Labour government does take stock of this and does not try to hide behind political correctness or try to downplay this incident as some sort of a racist event, because that would also be doing injustice to the huge migrant community which has actively contributed and integrated with the United Kingdom, including the families of the former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak.
Absolutely. General Katoch, what are now going to have to be changes that will have to be taken by this new dispensation to sort out this current crisis that has gripped the United Kingdom, so that it doesn't descend into further chaos?
Oh, they have to take certain steps, but I've got very serious reservations about their ability to take them. Rashmi made a very important point that what is happening now, post the attack, on those three young girls who were murdered, the reaction was not racist. Though it is being viewed as racist by some quarters, it's really a reaction to the spread of Islamism in their society in its most crude form. They want to get back they want to get Britain into the time of 1,500 years back. And I think, and they want to impose a level of Sharia in Britain. No, that is not something which that society is attuned to. They've got a different culture. And the very fact that certain people have come to the United Kingdom, it is because they felt that they would have a better life there. And now those very same people who wanted who are looking at a better life there, they want to convert it into the same hell as what they escaped from. And I think that is very surprising. The economy is not going to go up. This problem is going to get worse. But here I'm going to give it something, which in my view is going to happen. You see, there is a very, let me put it bluntly, the Indian community in Great Britain is a very hardworking and a very industrious group. And none of them get involved in any of these activities. They have been integrated totally. But I'm afraid when the violence starts, they are going to be, they are going to be categorized like the Islamists itself. Then nobody's going to look at who's a good chap or who's a bad chap, and none of those distinctions are going to be made in riots. And then we are going to find violence spilling onto the streets. It is bound to come. It is something which we cannot prevent. So regardless of what this government does, because the government is going to do nothing, the Labour government as of now is going to do absolutely nothing. They will continue on that woke culture of theirs. They will continue on trying to be what they call politically correct. I really don't know what that means, because there are various definitions of political correctness, but I don't want to get into that now. But unfortunately, I don't see any immediate resolution to the problem. It is going to fester, in my view, if there is a very sensible government there, they will require at least 2 to 3 years just to bring it onto a stable platform. But I'm afraid they will have to start taking action now against every single radical Islamist preacher in the United Kingdom. And I don't see them doing that. Uday.
All right. Dr. Vivek Kaul, I'll leave the last word to you before we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of them, the great panelists here. The problem is same what we used to face in India. There's a lot of appeasement of these Muslim groups, which the white people are sick of. And there is two-tier policing. Muslim, when they come on 100,000, they are, treated with kid gloves. And while the white people, when they come on the ground, they are, baton raided and all that. So this won't do. It gives bad optics. This will make all more whites to join the group which is doing this. And other is, they have these bloody faith-based schools where they preach, they allow the Muslims to preach, their radical education. Those faith-based schools have to close up. They have to close their shops. They in the Western country, they come, as the journal said, that they come to improve their life and again go back to the madrasa education and where they teach them poison. So this won't do. And I also agree with the defense expert that nothing will change under Labour, because they are the same bedmates of these jihadis. It's a red-green equation. Nothing will change. I think a new power will come, like this, Reform and other parties will come up. They will coalesce with each other, and another force will come in the next 2-3 years. It will take them time, because they have to have a huge base to bring this party in, and they will fight elections because they are sick of this immigration. And the other thing is they differentiate between a good immigrant and a bad illegal immigrant. And the bad illegal immigrant, unfortunately, are almost 100% Muslims. So they know these things. They are not foolish. So they know who their good elements are, who are very productive, who are, all these things is known to them. And I think a new third force will come up, which will take up the cudgels on behalf of the people. Like BJP came in 1980s. There is a lot of, behind the scenes, they were telling me that they have to learn a lot from BJP of 80s, how they started winning the seats from being a party which was helping the majority of the Hindus. So they know this. They know the equivalencies and what to learn from different countries. So BJP is on their radar to learn something from them. Thank you.
All right. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this broadcast.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.